Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface with Memoirs of a Warlock. Special places for me within the world of Warcraft. Now, pre-Cataclysm, Gilneas was the ultimate mystery for myself within the game. It was a place I would visit time and time again, wondering what was behind the main gate. We'd had some storyline which talked about how the Gilneans had blocked themselves off from the outside world, and if you were a mage then you could use your blink ability to trick yourself behind the gates and see what was there, which was nothing. Because nothing had been built, nothing was prepared for this content. But when Cataclysm came, suddenly the physical environment changed dramatically. The aesthetic of the Gilnean wall had actually been changed to go alongside the new aesthetic for Gilneas itself, and even places like Shadowfang Keep, which had in itself felt a little bit insular from what was going around, suddenly felt connected. The same with Powerwood Village, a small place that had had a few quests in it previous to this, but suddenly it became almost the main road leading into the Gilnean district. Go over a small bridge, and suddenly here we were, through the destroyed gate. And then if we soared above the treetops, because you could now fly in Azeroth with Cataclysm, you saw Gilneas City. This fantastically built Victorian structure with an imposing cathedral slap bang in the middle of it. It was almost like Cyrodiil to me from the Elder Scrolls franchise. It had that same sort of feel, almost an circular city in construct with a main focal point directly in the middle and then the other districts built around it. But the aesthetic was fantastic. I don't know if it was because I'm British, but the Victorian feel to it definitely touched me. And it also had a very kind of terraced aspect to it as well, something which is very popular in the UK. You could almost envisage Jack the Ripper stalking these streets at night. It was something to behold, and the only kind of criticism that I could ever levy on this place was there just simply nothing really there at top level to do. I know during the Rogue Legendary questline you managed to come in here to do one of your quests, but other than that it kind of just stood there silently, never contributing to what was around you. Of course, if you rolled a Worgen, then you got to experience it as it should have been. You had the fantastic storyline which surrounded the whole area, and I'm not going to give any spoilers away just in case you haven't, but here we are over 5 odd years later, and the next expansion is going to bring some sort of continuation to it, as Greymane has decided, I think, to go on the offensive towards Sylvanas. But the place itself not only looked phenomenal, but was phased too. Because if you did create a Worgen character from scratch, then everything around you is not as it seems, because certain villages which are here were torn apart during the Cataclysm and actually vanish during your questing and leveling up. But if you decide to ditch the flying mount and get on a ground-based one, you can experience some of the greatest views on a journey leading out of Stormglen Village over to Greymane Manor that possibly the World of Warcraft has ever produced. Firstly, on the right-hand side, we see the dense, thick, almost Edelweiss-esque foliage of the Blackwold, and then it leads up a cliffside where you have these beautiful lanterns which are lighting up the way, and when you reach the top to the first bridge, the imposing spire from Gilneas City itself, and then in the distance the fog just holding the wall of Gilneas together, and you can clearly distinguish the broken gateway which was torn apart by the Cataclysm. Turning round, we then go through one of these beautiful arches which is just there but looking aesthetically gorgeous, and then a high concentration of seagulls as we've got this cliff top view to the sea on the left hand side. And then when we turn the corner and see Greymane Manor in the distance, it almost has this Hammer horror type of feel to it. And the road then decides to dip, and so we have to look up at this manor house, giving us again a sense of us being small and it being imposing and massive. Get inside the courtyard and we have these couple of beautiful little carriages, some empty stables, and then in the distance that pathetic fallacy that the weather provides. The pathway on the right leads up into the manor itself, and this gorgeous green stained glass window with the light bashing in gives us this very sort of almost spiritual feel to the place, especially when it's deserted. Leave out of the back door and we come to one of the many lighthouses which are scattered around this area, probably giving some indication of why it was almost impossible for the Forsaken in the past to invade by sea, because it was so well protected by lookouts. They knew exactly what was coming. And then almost the moor type lands in front of us, and the lighthouses and the wall once more. Just absolutely gorgeous. Travel towards the southeast and you can see the remains of Duskhaven Village, one of the quest areas. If you'd rolled a Worgen, somewhere that you could physically go to, interact with people, and then when you'd done one of your quests and were hiding out in a cellar speaking to somebody, the cataclysm struck and tore this place apart, burying it all in the sea. Just the rooftops and chimneys remain of what used to be a village. But even bent and broken, Gilneas had one final victim that it needed to claim. You. There is a balcony on the far side of the wall that, if you just go up to the barriers that surround it, you will actually hit a fatigue area on the map. Stand here and admire the spire in the distance and your life will slowly drain away from you until you finally croak over and die. And when you do, you will have to spirit res down below, as there's actually no flying mount which will take you back up here to claim your body. It's almost poetic in a way, I suppose. It still wants to claim victims, even though so much has been taken away from it already. There's a tragic beauty about Gilneas. It's almost as if you're looking upon the body of a loved one who's now passed away, and they look so peaceful, and yet in life had gone through so much pain. It has that sort of feel and vibe to it, and it is without doubt one of the most emotionally invoking areas in the world of Warcraft. So I hope you enjoyed the vid, and if you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming, links are in the description down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care everybody, bye bye.